WWWWOCA.
All right, 19 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. So there's a lady here in our community, and she created an organization called the Endangered Animal Rescue Sanctuary. Her name is Jay Parrott. And that organization does exactly what the name implies. They rescue animals and take care of them. And they're not always pets. A lot of times they're wild animals. And
White tiger.
Tiger, yeah, she has a white tiger. I don't know if she still has it. So she had asked us to write a song and for her to sing, and we did. And then we put a video together of footage of different animals, lions and giraffes, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that we took. But we went to, where do we go? We went to Busch Gardens.
Yep.
And we went to Homeless House of Springs. In other words, when we have a photographer in our community, how many of you know Mark Emery? He's an awesome photographer. And he really would go out. He doesn't go to zoos for pictures of animals. He goes out into the wild.
Yes, he does.
And I often wonder when I see his pictures, gosh, how long did he wait for that picture? Sometimes it just fascinates me. We have somebody else on the phone who does something very similar, has done something very similar. Dr. Charles Foster must really, really love animals. He has eaten worms so he could live with them.
I know.
I was looking at that part. I said, I would have brought something. He's a renowned expert on animals and nature, a veterinarian. I guess you probably could have guessed that. He teaches medical law and ethics at the University of Oxford, and his book is called Being a Beast, Adventures Across the Species Divide. I wish we had more time to talk to Dr. Foster. Good morning, Dr. Charles Foster. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Nice to speak to you.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Oxford in England, where it's a blistering tropical day with the swifts screaming down the street.
Wow.
Oh, listen to you. You're like a poet.
Yeah.
And so were you eating English worms or American worms? Where were you eating the worms?
Well, most of the worms were in England, but no, I have to regret publicly the fact that I ever wrote this stupid, pretentious opening bit about worm tasting in the style of a wine taster, talking about the terroir of the worms, because although it's attracted a lot of attention, it's made me seem even more insane than I really am. I don't think it tells you anything at all about the badgers. Well, it just tells you something about the words that I've accumulated over the course of a lifetime in order to describe how worms taste, and that's not really very interesting.
Okay, well, we won't go there then. Being a Beast, though, is very interesting. Tell me about the idea behind this. How long before you actually did it, did you think about doing it?
When I was a kid, growing up in our suburban house in Yorkshire in the north of England, there was a blackbird, and it looked me in the eye, and I looked it in the eye, and I thought I knew our little suburban garden very well, but this blackbird plainly knew something about that garden that I didn't know, and I wondered what that was. And that set me thinking, so this is since the age of 5, about what the world looks like through the eyes and the ears and the noses and the other sensory receptors of the creatures that know it so much more intimately than I do. So I love the landscapes of England and Scotland and Wales, but I want to know how they really are. And I think that trying to look at them through the eyes of the creatures that crawl through them and fly over them and know them so much more intensely and intimately than we do is an exciting prospect. And it relates to other questions which are of more general interest to us. So do you really know what the person sitting across the dinner table from you is seeing or hearing inside the head of each of us?
No, we don't know that. No, but that's
fascinating.
Which is worth exploring. So the contents of the head of your husband or your wife or your children is more or less fascinatingly inaccessible. Trying to get inside that universe is far more difficult and far more interesting and far more significant than trying to penetrate a distant universe. And so my rather eccentric quest in the woodlands of Wales and around the trash cans of East London and on the moors of Exmoor was a way into these really important questions about how we can know the world and how we can relate to other creatures, including human creatures in this world.
How successful were you in learning about the creatures? It sounds like it was an experiment at the beginning. I mean, did the experiment? Do you feel like you came out of the experiment knowing better what the blackbird sees in your garden or what the badger sees in his environment?
it was a highly unsuccessful experiment. But it was an experiment which convinced me that it was possible to go a small extent into the worlds of these creatures, and that is an exciting prospect. So was I able to perceive that Welsh woodland as a badger sees it? Of course not. Was I able to know more about that Welsh woodland than I would know if I just strode colonially through it 6 feet above it, as I normally do?
Right.
Yeah. So that was worth knowing.
And strolling at that point would be even more educational than going on Google to learn about it. Yeah.
Right. So even if all this book does is convince people to get away from their computers and walk through a wood, that is that is worth doing. Direct experience is something which people don't seem to be interested in anymore. And we are dismally unsensual creatures at the best of times. We normally use only one out of our 5 senses, and that's our sense of sight. We normally tend to forget that we have all these other senses. We've allowed them just to...
Not to mention intuition. Intuition plays a role, too.
Oh, certainly.
Well, right. I've talked about 5 senses. In fact, I think that there are many more than that, but let's start with 5 and see where we get to.
Yeah.
And there are lots of indications that we can reawaken these long dormant senses. So there was a guy called Jacques Schwartz who insisted that he could see auras around people. Nonsense, of course, said the scientific establishment. A physiologist tested him and found that he could indeed see infrared light, supposedly invisible to human vision. That's interesting. The most interesting thing is that the physiologist then tested himself, and he found that he could see this supposedly invisible light. So the moral of that story is that we are extraordinary creatures, far more extraordinary than we think we are, and we can squeeze so much more out of the world than we normally think we can. And why would we not do that?
And in your
we let life go off half cock.
In your quest for survival, you had to survive yourself. You even became one of the hunted.
Right. So that was in the course of trying to enter the world of a red deer. And red deer are the quintessential prey species. Everything that they do is conditioned by their assumption that there is a wolf just lying in wait trying to kill them. I, as a member of my species, am not a prey species primarily. Yes, I too am worried about wolves at some level of my subconscious, but it's not the main spring of my being. So in an attempt to work out what it was like to be the hunted, the obvious thing is to be hunted. And so, I was hunted through the Quantock Hills down in Somerset by a bloodhound, and tried to think myself into the mind of something that lived its whole life as a prey species. And of course I failed. I'm like every member of Homo sapiens at the summit of this evolutionary pyramid. I see, although I regret that this is my view of things, non-human creatures are subject to me, and I would learn more about really being a prey species by living in a cardboard box under a bridge.
So, I'm just fascinated by the fact that you've added a whole new dimension to this whole thing by bringing in human beings and our perhaps apathetic lives as far as the people closest to us, and really trying to figure out, how your wife is thinking, how your son is thinking, the people around you, what they're going through. But I don't know. I think we try. It's maybe not as hard as we could, and maybe that's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. And then a wild, woolly, extravagant experiment like mine can perhaps teach us something about how to be a better husband or friend or father.
Better human.
Exactly.
Or human. So if we can try to do something as mad as trying to be a badger, trying to work out what it's like to walk around on 4 legs, perhaps we'll be a more empathetic husband.
Absolutely. Can you imagine when at the end of Schindler's List, when Arthur, in the movie, because obviously I wasn't there, when Oskar Schindler looks at his ring and he realized he could have paid for some more Jewish lives.
Yeah.
I mean, right there, he was showing us that he was trying to be empathetic to the plight that they were going through back in the Holocaust years. Yeah, we need to be keenly aware of what's going on around us, not only in the animal world but in the human world. Well, you've opened up our eyes to a lot of things in a few 10 minutes. Do you have a website, Doctor?
Yep, www.charlesfoster.co.uk.
Okay. Doctor, thank you for being on the air with us today.
Great to speak to you. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Donald Trump's children offering testimonials about their father as he secures the GOP presidential nomination.
We've actually started to believe that solving our great problems is an impossible task. And that's why we need to elect a man who has a track record of accomplishing the impossible.
That's Donald Jr. He and Tiffany Trump speaking on day 2 of the Republican National Convention.
Pence tonight will give the vice presidential acceptance speech. Typically, a vice presidential acceptance speech offers plenty of criticism of the opponent, though likely to not be the sort of scathing indictment that was issued by Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey last evening.
Fox's John Roberts. And a summer cookout staple getting recalled, more than 372,000 pounds of hot dogs and corn dogs from Oklahoma-based Bar S Foods because of worries about potential listeria contamination. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Psst. Hey, it's me, your car. No, it's not the voice of your car phone or your GPS that gives you driving directions. I'm sorry to interrupt your tunes, but we need to talk. Take a look around. I'm not the new car I used to be. The season's dirt and mud really did a number on my carpet here. And that iced coffee you spilled, hoo-hoo, that didn't help. And with the rain showers and all, I know it's going to be a real mud bath in here. So do me a favor and get a set of WeatherTech floor liners. Got it? Now, how about a wash and detail? What do you say?
WeatherTech floor liners and cargo liners keep your vehicle's carpet safe from spills and messes. Made of the highest quality materials and laser measured, WeatherTech floor liners are specifically designed for your vehicle. And they're made in America. If it could talk, your vehicle would thank you. Order yours today at WeatherTech.com or call 1-800-CarMats. WeatherTech. Complete protection, completely American made.
Get it for less at the DIY Home Center outlet. Get top quality real wood cabinets the same or less than the big box stores are selling the cheap stuff. And that's not all. Drywall screws big box stores are $6.47 a pound. At DIY, only $4.99. Plus, DIY has the largest selection of mobile home parts and accessories anywhere. From carpet to doors, get the DIY supplies you need for less. The DIY Home Center outlet. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hi, this is Becky at Hello Gorgeous Salon. Let's get rid of those sun damaged ends and faded out color and get into something rich and vibrant. It's time to get that new look started. So call today and set up your appointment at Hello Gorgeous Salon, 351-5358. Hello Gorgeous is a certified Brazilian blowout salon. We can tame those locks, leaving your hair healthy and shiny with a Brazilian smoothing treatment. And whether you're going on a job interview or out on a date,